Warning, this podcast discusses paranormal activity and other topics some might find disturbing. Listener discretion is advised. Hello, everybody. This is your host, Ashley.
And this is her very colorful host, Daniel.
Colorful host?
Co-host.
Colorful host. I like that. You're very colorful.
Yes.
Welcome to Ghost Gossip.
Welcome, y'all.
It is late night. It is almost 9:20 and we're recording on a Saturday after we've had a very long day.
Very long day. And a very long week.
It's been a very long week. It's been a very long day. It's been, yes, but here we are doing what... Well, you know, I can't say it's what we love, but I do love and I enjoy doing this.
I enjoy doing it with you.
Thank you. I enjoy doing it with you.
We're just out here grinding, y'all. Hustling.
I wish I was hustling.
She likes to Brussels more than hustle.
I love Brussels sprouts.
I thought about getting some.
Oh, this would have been good. He made me dinner tonight. It was very good.
And some balsamic with some feta cheese.
Oof. We haven't seen each other much this week because he's been on the road for work. And then today we were in two separate directions in South Carolina. Yes. He went one way, I went the other. And then he got home and he made me dinner.
I did.
It was very nice.
You deserved it. You worked very hard today and I appreciate it.
Y'all, we've had some activity in the house today. It's been a little bit weird.
Freaky even.
We have had a lot of knocking in the house today. I had a door open and I had a TV come on while we were sitting there talking in the living room. It's been a weird energy kind of day to day. But when Daniel got home, our life has been upside down today and spiraling in circles. I was like, is it a new moon? Is it a full moon? What is going on? Because everything is going upside down.
Everything is happening.
I sent my best friend a text and there was like 5 major things. And I was like, all today. That doesn't even include what happened yesterday. And it's just like, good God, what is going on? And Daniel was sitting there Googling during dinner and he's like, you got to hear this.
So Mercury and Venus are in retrograde and they are in Aries, both of them. So it's a simultaneous retrograde of 2 planets in the same zodiac.
So if your world is turning upside down, that might be why.
This could be why. This could explain it. This could have some effect.
But if you don't believe in that and your world is upside down, then I don't know what it is.
Get your life together, Susan.
Don't you leave Susan out of this.
Sorry, anybody named Susan.
I got your back, Susan. Well, today we are doing something that it was Daniel's idea, because I was like, what should we do next? So
if we fall flat on our faces, it's my fault.
It's all his fault.
So I'll take the blame. I'll shoulder that.
I think it's going to be pretty good.
I hope so.
There's a lot of information. Yeah. You know, some places don't have a lot of information. You have to dig.
Yeah, this is probably like information overload.
It was, but the good and bad thing about it is it's a lot of the same information repeated in different ways. So, I mean, that's good. But as far as personal stories, I don't like to read personal stories unless I get permission from the person. So I don't really have those because that's like Reddit and stuff like that. So I try not to dig. Reddit is a crazy place.
Yes.
But we are doing Alcatraz, the haunted history of Alcatraz.
The Rock.
The Rock.
Not Dwayne Johnson.
No,
don't. Don't. Stop imagining.
Do you know that they sell his scent in Target now? You know.
I didn't buy that one.
You should.
No.
Anyway, so we're going to do the Alcatraz, the place, not the man.
Alcatraz, the man, he wore boots, smuggled cocaine.
So Alcatraz is in San Francisco, California. It is very well known. If you haven't heard about Alcatraz, which was known as the Rock, where have you been? So Alcatraz, known by Spanish explorers as La Isla de los Alcatraces, which translates to
the island of the penguins.
No.
Oh, Pelicans. That's how
Quit line blocking me. Translate to the island of Pelicans, which I was telling Daniel while we were, he was cleaning up after dinner. I should say we, but I was feeding animals. He was picking up after dinner. And I was like, it's really less intimidating now that I know that it's the island of Pelicans.
Until you research pelicans and realize how devious and satanic they are.
They do have really big mouths.
Wow.
They can just swallow you whole. The island was developed in the mid-19th century as a military fort as well as a military prison. In 1912, a newer building was built and it housed 600 inmates, I guess, of the military prisoners.
It was like a like Fort Knox, not Fort Knox. What's the military? I should know this. Leavenworth.
Yeah, you should know this. You were in the Army.
Yeah, it was like a Fort Leavenworth, and it sits out in the middle of the San Francisco Bay, which is notoriously cold water, wind, strong currents. So I'm sure
Sharks.
And sharks, yes.
Yes, the climate of the water make it an excellent habitat for sharks. In 1934, Alcatraz turned into a maximum security federal prison, and it ran until 1963. It is located in the San Francisco Bay, 1.5 miles from actual San Francisco.
Yeah.
Rumors swirl that the prison itself was shut down because of 3 inmates who they were Frank Morris and brothers Clarence and John Anglin. They escaped June 11th, 1962, and they were never found. So rumors went around that the prison, because they were known as like you can't escape it.
Right. Because of the geography, because of the water. I mean, to swim 1.5 miles in that water, you would probably get hypothermia and
people
drown.
do it.
Yeah.
People do it all the time nowadays, but they are trained and they have like wetsuits, and there's boats monitoring them. But like these guys who've been in prison and they are not well equipped, it was the inescapable prison.
Yeah, and they weren't getting like daily swim time.
Highly doubt it. But that rumor went around that they shut Alcatraz down because those 3 prisoners escaped and they don't know if they survived or not. Now the prison itself says, we think they're dead.
Yeah, of course.
Their bodies were never found. People are like, we think they made it.
I've heard some stuff where they think that they had people on the shore that were waiting for them were going to help them basically get out of the city, and
which makes sense because they had planned everything. So just briefly into how they escaped, because we're not talking true crime here or anything like that. We're just a little bit of history about Alcatraz. They were really clever. One of the prisoners, there was like a music time. So one prisoner during that music time would play some kind of musical instrument. And while they were playing the instrument, causing like a distraction, the other prisoners would chisel away at the wall and they would hang like sheets or whatever.
Yeah.
Nobody questioned. The guards didn't question it.
They would smuggle out the, because they were going in between the center blocks to get the grout out. Mm-hmm. And then they would smuggle the dirt out through their pockets.
And then they made paper mache heads to make it look like they were in their beds. They used raincoats, prison issued raincoats, to make their raft.
Yeah, they sewed them together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one person or both people had to like keep inflating them to keep it afloat, but
like how much sense does it make to go all those lengths and not have a plan once you reach the other side?
Exactly. That's kind of what I was thinking.
Right.
So they were discovered that they were missing when the guards were going through checking, and they went to their cell and like touched one of the beds, and the head fell off.
Yeah.
And so Daniel has seen the head. Some believe that they perished in the dangerous waters of the bay, while others fully believe that they made it. The BOP denies the rumors and says that Alcatraz was closed due to the high cost of operations and the extensive structural damage. Because of where it's located, the salt water air took its toll in the prison. And Daniel has been there and seen it. The prison was in deplorable condition.
I don't know of anything I've read, but from what I remember, the prison was already in a big state of degradation before these guys escaped. So I think that the closing was inevitable. I think these guys escaping probably sped that up a good bit.
I would think so, because they escaped in 1962, and Alcatraz officially closed March 22nd, 1963 by Attorney General Robert Kennedy. And in 1969, did you know that, you probably did know this because you toured there, that it housed Native American protesters?
I did not know that.
Really? I didn't know that either. So in 1969, it housed the Native American protesters. And then after that, it reopened to the public in 1973 as part of the Golden Gate National Recreation Area.
Yeah, part of the Parks and Recreation.
Right. Alcatraz housed very violent criminals. Some of the most notorious inmates were Al Scarface Capone, George Machine Gun Kelly, Robert Birdman Stroud, and Alvin Creepy Capri. So if you didn't know who those people were, Al Capone was a notorious gangster and kingpin of the Chicago underworld during the Roaring Twenties, and he was imprisoned at Alcatraz for tax evasion.
Yes, because they couldn't tie him directly to any other crime, so they ended up being able to tie him to his money, and he didn't pay taxes. So
it's kind of like when serial killers get pulled over because they don't have a tail light, and that's how they get caught.
Yeah,
because they've got a head in the back seat.
Here we are again with the head.
All right, so George Machine Gun Kelly, a notorious kidnapper and gangster known for his involvement in several high-profile crimes. Robert Birdman Stroud, a convicted murderer known for his unusual interest in bird keeping, even writing several books on canaries while incarcerated.
Yes, he, I believe he had a bird, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe there was somebody that had a pet squirrel in there. I can't remember. Maybe that's from the movie Shawshank Redemption.
I think you're thinking of a movie, but we did talk about a prison that they had a pet deer.
Oh, no, I'm thinking about the Green Mile.
Okay, yeah. The pet deer was at Brushy Creek, or not Brushy Creek, Brushy Mountain.
But if you haven't seen the movie Alcatraz, Escape from Alcatraz with Clint Eastwood, go watch it.
I've never seen it.
It's very good.
So Alvin Capri, leader of a gang of robberies, hijackers, and kidnappings, Capri served the longest sentence of any Alcatraz prisoner, 26 years. They were opened, I think, 29 years.
Yeah.
So he was there almost the whole time. Ruff Percival, known for being one of the most dangerous criminals for his era and being physically tortured and beaten by fellow inmates.
Wow.
Yeah. During Alcatraz's 29 years in operation as a prison, there were several deaths. 8 prisoners were murdered, 5 committed suicide, 15 died from natural causes, and others perished during escape attempts. While there was no capital punishment at this prison, 36 prisoners attempted to escape, 23 were caught, 6 were shot dead, 2 drowned, and 5 were listed as missing and presumed drowned. In May 1946, there was an attempted prison break, but it turned into a standoff. There were 6 inmates killed. So the question that we want to talk about is it haunted? Do you think it's haunted? You were there. Do you think it's haunted?
I wouldn't say. I mean, I was 17 when I went. So
you were a baby.
Yes, that's been a minute. It's definitely a very eerie place.
Yeah.
It definitely has a very unique, you feel very isolated when you're out there.
That makes sense.
San Francisco's cold. Like even in the summertime, I was there in beginning of August.
It was still cold?
And it was cold. It was cold. Very cold. I had to get the adult I was with had to buy me a pullover.
Where was your coat?
I didn't have one. I was going to California.
You were 17. Why do we wear coats when we're teenagers?
Exactly.
Unless it's summertime. And then we wear all the coats and jackets.
Yes.
Makes no sense.
But yeah, it's windy. It's cold.
Your favorite climate, cold and windy.
No.
And damp.
No, it was damp.
I bet it was.
But yeah, when you're out there, even on the ferry boat ride out there, you start feeling pretty isolated. And then once you're on the island and you get up close to the buildings, it's an eerie feeling.
Does it feel oppressive? Because a lot of articles that I read say that it feels somewhat oppressive.
It does. It feels not like things are like closing in on you.
Mm-hmm.
You feel the weight and the gravity of the place.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
It's completely stone.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. So is it haunted? Now, what I read is the people that work on the island, the officers, the national park rangers, they will get very defensive and they do not want to talk about its haunted histories from what I read. Now, I don't know that personally. I've never been there. But from several threads and articles, it says that they do not want to admit to its haunted history.
Really? That's interesting.
Isn't it? I wonder if they've been told, like, we don't talk about it. Unless it's a haunted tour, we don't talk about it.
That's what it sounds like.
Now, some believe that Alcatraz is extremely haunted, which would make sense because not only has it been a prison for many years and has seen murders and deaths and suicides and some really dark things and some really bad people who did bad things, but Native Americans believe that the island was a place where evil and malevolent spirits gathered, coupled with the fact that it's surrounded by water, and some people believe that water is a conduit for paranormal activity. And then with everything else that's happened there, like I can believe that is just like a hub of energy.
Well, who knows what they built over when they built the buildings on the island.
That's true. So the reported paranormal activity, what people say they experience when they're there are sounds like moans, whistling, sobbing, screams of pain. There's a lot of echoes because, of course, it's like a big stone building. So that sound radiates and echoes through the building. One specific story and this comes from the warden. that worked the prison, and he was not a believer. Warden Johnston said that he heard a woman crying. He was actually giving a tour to a group of people, and they all heard this woman crying, and he said it sounded like it was coming from behind the walls. And then it was like a cold wind blew through the prison, and it stopped.
Yeah, the support staff that worked there, and I think some live there, I would love to hear some of their stories.
If they're allowed to talk about it.
I'm talking about even during while the prison was open.
Well, the guards have heard, like a lot of these reports come from the actual guards that worked in the prison. People have said that they hear sounds of slamming cell doors. They report hearing banjo playing, which the only person that was allowed the freedom to play banjo was Al Capone. Mm-hmm. So is Al Capone's spirit still lingering there for his tax evasion? Didn't he have really comfy?
Yes.
Didn't we see some of his stuff at Zach Bagans? Mm-hmm. And he had it was decked out. Like they allowed him some freedom.
Oh yeah, he was a superstar.
Was he housed anywhere else other than Alcatraz? I didn't look that up.
I think he was. So
housed. Maybe we're thinking of the other prison.
I think he was housed at a couple of different prisons, but even at Alcatraz, he would have been a superstar during that time. So he probably would have had fairly, if not the nicest accommodations.
Well, and I used to work for the federal court system. And so I can tell you when it comes to federal BOP with federal prisoners, they will move them as needed. Mm-hmm. And so you have a prisoner, maybe he was from Chicago, mm-hmm. that person that was convicted in a federal prison or in a federal court in Chicago, they can go anywhere in America. Mm-hmm. That's kind of how that works. So if he was convicted in Chicago, he can go to any federal prison. That might explain how he ended up at Alcatraz.
Yeah, I think he ended up serving a couple of different places.
Got it.
That was just one stop on his federal BOP tour.
Guards report smelling horrible smells, which if you know anything about demonology or anything like that, they say that evil spirits have almost like a death smell.
Like a stench.
Almost sulfur type. It's real foul. And it's strong. And it comes out of nowhere and then dissipates.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't smell it.
You wouldn't smell it because you have no nasal faculties at all. People have reported the thing, which is, I don't like creepy crawlers. I don't like the idea of crawlers, and it makes my skin crawl. And so the thing is something with glowing eyes that they've seen kind of are you trying to change the light and freak me out? Don't do that.
No, I'm not.
It's nighttime.
I'm not trying to. I'm just holding the remote. Here.
You love to hold a remote. I don't want a remote. Cold spots are all throughout the prison, which could be because it's an old stone building, but it also could be the presence of spirits. Both guards and inmates have reported feeling these cold spots around the prison. People have seen apparitions, including a man in cell 14D, which was in the hole. The ghost, they believe, is of a prisoner who died while in solitary confinement. And other just kind of experiences before I get into some more specifics. Unexplained crashing sounds, running footsteps, dragging chains. The scent of smoke in the old laundry room. It's not like cigarette smoke. It is like something on fire smoke. Yeah. And they see the smoke and then the smoke just disappears, which is weird. And then a ghostly image of an original Alcatraz lighthouse has been seen by many over the years. A ghostly image. I wonder if that's a person at the lighthouse.
Or just a ghostly image of the actual lighthouse.
Is the lighthouse not there anymore?
I think it is.
I don't know.
Yeah, it is.
Guards also have reported hearing gunshots and cannons firing, and they are so loud, or they were so loud, that they thought the prisoners had escaped and were taking over the prison.
Wow.
Only to find out that no, and they couldn't explain where the noise was coming from. That's interesting. So specific locations of the prison, cellblock D, considered one of the most haunted areas of the prison. It's known as the Hole. Now, did you go down to cellblock D?
I think so. I think you could go down. From what I remember, you could go down and see one cell down there.
So what I read was, I wrote down how many there were, but I can't see it. I guess I deleted it.
17 or 18, something like that.
Yeah, it's not a lot, but so the first so many are horrible conditions, but then the rest of them, they're called the strip cells, and they were the harshest punishment of the whole. The inmates were placed in that cell, and they were naked and deprived of all of their peripheral senses. It was pitch black, freezing cold. They had a mattress only at night to sleep on, and then they would take it when the sun came up, and they would only be allowed to shower 1 to 2 days a week, and they had to be fed a specific diet.
Which was what, bread and water?
It was probably mush. I've seen some of these prisons, they serve them, when they talk about the history, they serve them just mush.
Yeah, it was probably like moldy bread and water.
Ugh. There was also only a hole for their waste.
Yeah.
So they didn't have a toilet. I think there was a sink, but that was like, so just deplorable. Like things that I could never imagine anything like this.
Yeah, back then people were actually scared to go to prison.
God.
People aren't scared to go to prison anymore.
Oh no, I know that. I'm aware. So cell 14D is the cell to be the most haunted in the D block. And it is said that a prisoner was in solitary confinement and the guards heard him screaming. Like they put him there, they closed the door, and this man started freaking out, and he was telling them like somebody's attacking him. But they knew they put him by himself.
Sure.
So they just left him and they went about their way. They did not check on him until the next day, and he was strangled to death. The coroner said that there is no way, or the medical examiner, whichever one it is, did his autopsy, said there's no way it was self-inflicted, and that they don't know who strangled him to death. Still to this day.
Maybe one guard was covering for the other guard.
It could be. Because, sometimes guards are shady. We've learned that through researching these places. But if they are true to their word, which who knows, they don't know who strangled him.
Well, either way, that could account for the activity.
Yes. They believe that the person that died in that cell haunts that cell and that he is very vengeful. Which makes sense.
Especially if it was the guards.
Well, yeah, and especially if he, just think just conditions. Even if he wasn't murdered by just one of the guards, like just the conditions that they put them in, I'd be mad too. So another inmate, his last name's McCain, was being held in 14D as well. He was released out of solitary confinement and then stabbed another inmate to death. And he was actually acquitted of that charge because he said his time in cell 14D messed with his mind.
I'm sure it did.
Mm-hmm. And that's the reason he ended up stabbing somebody else.
I don't know that anyone could have gone down there for any length of time and it not have psychologically damaged them.
Visitors today say that 14D has the heaviest and overwhelming feeling of some of the whole prison. Like it is just oppressive. It's heavy. You can just feel it.
Yeah.
So I was reading one website. I'm going to have as always, all the links that I use will be in the show notes. So his name is Richard Weiner and Nancy Osborne, authors of the book Haunted Houses. They visited Alcatraz and had their own encounters. They said that there was a ton of psychic energy in 14D, and they felt tingling in their hands and their arms, which is weird.
I'm trying to think back and remember if I had anything like that. I don't think so.
Another author of a book for Haunted Alcatraz, he described receiving psychic impressions when he visited cell 14D, also experiencing tingling sensation and seeing a small man with his head shaved who told him he was beaten and his legs were broken by guards.
The guards there weren't nice people.
No, I'm not saying that all of them, but back in the day, they kind of had freedom to do what they wanted.
And I think sometimes, like at certain prisons, the worst of the worst guards got put at certain prisons.
I don't disagree, but I'm not going to generalize. I know some really great prison guards, and I know there were some really great prison guards.
Sure.
But it takes one. It just takes one bad one, and it just, what is it? Ruins the whole bunch?
Well, it's also the conditions of the prison also affect the guards greatly.
Absolutely.
You're talking about Alcatraz going downhill pretty fast. You know what I mean? It was open for 29 years. I would say probably the last 3 or 4 years before it closed were probably pretty bad conditions for everybody there. I mean, think about it costs so much money to get the supplies there, to get people back. I mean, and
because you couldn't just drive there. You had to ferry all this stuff.
So it was a huge expense for the government, and so operationally it didn't make sense. And so I think that the conditions continued to get worse and worse and worse.
Another person they cited, his name is Richard Sinnott. He was a psychic that spent the night at Alcatraz. He actually was locked in cell 12D, and he said he felt very icy fingers wrap around his neck.
Gross.
Yeah.
Did you spend the night?
Would I? Like sleep? I don't sleep now.
Would you lock yourself in one of the cells?
No. I'm interested, and I'm curious. I'm not brave enough. I'm just going to say it. Like, I go to these haunted locations, but I go to the ones that aren't scary.
You're a fraidy cat.
I am a fraidy cat. Absolutely. I'm a scaredy cat.
I know this. I just want all the listeners to hear you say it.
I don't mind admitting that I have my limits.
Okay. Would your head shake?
You go sassy. Whip my ponytail at you. In cellblock C, many believe that there was a utility passageway where convicts Bernard Coy, Joseph Kretzer, and Marvin Hubbard were killed during their attempt escape in 1946. They believe where they died is haunted because that's where they died. They hear loud clanging noises and often hear a door that is like open.
Were they just like stuck in a tunnel or something, or like a chase or a space in the prison or something? Like
I don't know. It says they were killed, but it doesn't. The website that I was reading, it didn't say were they killed by guards.
Okay.
Because I know that in the other website I read, it said that 6 were killed. So these 3 might have been included in that 6 killed. So I don't know.
Yeah.
If anybody knows, let me know. Then again, I can always Google it. But we're going to press forward. So they hear the door open to look at it. It's closed again. Others have reported seeing apparitions of a man wearing fatigues and hearing disembodied voices. There was a spot in the prison where there was a large riot. Prisoners were killed in that riot.
I would imagine so.
There were 3, I believe. 3 prisoners were left dead from that riot. And so people hear disembodied voices in that area where the riot was. You're sleepy. That's why these late night recordings are hard. And I'm like getting my second wind. My insomnia is kicking in. I'm like ready to go. So the warden's house is said to also be haunted. So on the island, there's also the warden's house. I believe today it is like a shell of itself. I think it burned down.
His whole family lived there with him.
And it said that clothing vanishes into thin air. It also says that he was having a party once. There were a ton of people at this party. It was in the 1940s. The warden and people at the party saw a man appear wearing a gray suit, a brimmed hat, and had mutton chops. Were you there?
I was not.
You used to have some mutton chops back in your high school days.
Yeah, I might have.
And they said that they were startled at his appearance, and then the room went really cold and the spirit vanished. And so the warden, again, was not a believer, but he has had experiences himself. Another place that is said to be extremely haunted within Alcatraz is the laundry room. Guards, like I said before, they see and smell smoke, and then it just like disappears. So it would be like they're in the laundry room or near the laundry room, and it would just fill with smoke. And then, poof, just gone. A psychic named Sylvia Brown came to Alcatraz in 1984. She identified the ghost in the laundry room as Butcher Malkowitz, a hitman who was killed by another prisoner in the laundry room. Which is, they were rough, man. This is a rough group of men.
Oh, yeah.
Good Lord.
Yeah, this was like the worst of the worst back then.
Yeah. Tax evasion.
Yeah, you like... Well, like the people that went to Alcatraz were the worst of the worst.
Oh, yeah. Back in the day. Yeah. There's also been reported that, and I believe this because I have felt this feeling, that when you're there, you constantly feel like you're being watched no matter where you are. You just feel like you have eyes on you. Other stories around Alcatraz have been the lady in green. They said that she was the wife of a prison warden who allegedly committed suicide. Other 2 places in the prison that are said to be haunted is the hospital ward as well as the mess hall.
What is interesting to me is all these stories and encounters. So all these stories and all these encounters, it's almost like the prison is still running. It's like it never closed.
It's a residual.
You know what I mean? Like it's just still it's
residual.
Continuing on.
Which wouldn't surprise me because it is almost
people go there and got stuck there.
Yeah, they checked in and didn't check out.
Yeah, and so they just continued on.
Especially if their life was taken or ended abruptly, like, killed in a raid or killed trying to escape or they murdered each other. I mean, your life just ends, and some spirits, especially if they feel like they have unfinished business, they just kind of get stuck in that cycle.
Yeah.
But what's crazy is like a lot of these are reported by a lot of different people from all different walks of life, and they've been reported for decades.
And it doesn't necessarily seem like any of the encounters are necessarily malevolent.
Well, the Native Americans did believe that there was a really negative, and then you have the thing, which I'm sorry.
I'm just saying, for the most part, in a general sense, it's not like these things are trying to hurt people. It's like they're just going through what they normally would while they were there.
Right, but then you had the person with the fingers around his neck.
I know. I'm not saying there's not any. I'm just saying generally.
Yeah, it's not like a demon house.
Yeah.
Like there's some houses.
That's a good way of putting it.
Like there was a house at Zach Bagan's, and it was out of Illinois, I believe. And he actually brought this staircase. He bought the house and studied the house for years. And every time I talk about that house, I get covered in chills.
He brought the dirt that's there.
The dirt, the stairs. Oh my God.
Yeah.
The whole museum, I was kind of like, I don't feel anything. In that room, And like right now, I'm chilled up.
Yeah.
Talking about this whole prison, and I changed the subject to Zach Bagans' demon house, and I'm just like, I think that's the house that gave me nightmares. I'm not even gonna lie.
Maybe.
All I know is I'm going to Vegas in July, and if they say, hey, do you want to go back? I'm gonna be like, I'll pass.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have a spa day that day.
Yeah. I'm just gonna chill at the
I'm
pool.
gonna chill. Now, I recommend anybody going, just like Alcatraz. Would you recommend anybody going on
Absolutely.
a tour?
If I would go back for sure.
Yeah, maybe we add that to the list.
We can go see Alcatraz and then go out to wine country.
That sounds great. The only thing I knew about Alcatraz was The Rock, and The Rock was a movie my mom watched all the time because Sean Connery was in it. And I remember The Rock just because of Sean Connery.
Give me the Schwadra back.
Mom loved that movie. And I think my dad made a comment once about, we all know why mom wants to watch that movie.
Same reason you like watching Jason Momoa movies.
He's a beautiful man, and he's got a kind heart.
Yeah.
But you like Sandra Bullock. You like Ariana Grande. Who's the other one you like? There's another one, but I can't think of her.
Sophia.
Yes, Sophia. Cannot believe you like Latin women.
Sofia Vergara.
Sofia Vergara. So if you don't know, I am Puerto Rican. So Daniel kind of has a zest for spicy women.
A thirst.
We keep things interesting. What is it? Spicy? Spicy nice? Spicy honest?
I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know. I don't know.
I feel like you're making stuff up.
No, I saw it on Instagram.
Oh,
I don't have a mean wife. She's spicy honest or spicy nice or.
I didn't see that one, so that's why.
I sent it to you. Oh, guilty.
Guilty. I have
Guilty
not watched it.
Guilty in the court of Ashley.
Yes, I've been found wanting. I still love you, though.
I don't know anymore. I don't know anymore. Well, I think that's really interesting. I've never really wanted to look into it, but I'm glad I did. I think I learned a lot. I did learn a lot.
It's a cool place. If you ever are out there and you have the opportunity to go out there, take the time, experience it. It is, because who knows how long it's actually going to be able to go out there. Just because of the geography that it's in, they might end up having to close it down. So take full advantage of going out there and spend as much time as you can just taking it all in. I wish, honestly, because I just kind of did
you were 17.
Yeah, I did the headphone tour, and I just wish I had spent more time taking it all in. So
yep, make sure you move out there.
I'd love to go back.
Don't ever leave. Daniel's recommendation. I've lost him. These late night recordings are hard on him. I'm trying to make a joke and he is not following.
Maybe it just wasn't funny.
Maybe.
Shots fired.
Damn. That's fair though. Because I think I'm a lot funnier than I actually am. But my listeners, there's a lot of them that think I'm funny.
And what's funny is a lot of times when you're not trying to be funny, you're hilarious.
You know why I think that I really haven't been interested in Alcatraz ever?
Because you work for the court system?
Maybe. I did. Yeah, in prisons, I'm just like, meh. I've been to prisons before on prison tours, and I'm just like, okay, I never want to come here again.
Yeah.
But I also think with Alcatraz, because I want to go to like certain prisons, like I would love to go to Missouri, Missouri Penitentiary, and then Brushy. With Alcatraz, it is isolated, and you can't get off that island, and you know how I am.
Well, you can.
No, I know, but you can't just drive off.
No.
And you know how I am.
You have to wait on a ferry.
I don't want to wait on a ferry. If I want to leave, I want to leave. So
it's not like you're locked in the building.
I know, but I'm not locked in my house either. Daniel parks his car behind my car, and it infuriates me. But I will say that stems from trauma that I suffered in my 20s.
And if she makes me mad, then I'll just park behind her to get a rise out of her.
He's such an ass. You're such an ass. You do that on purpose?
Sometimes. And sometimes I will park to where you think you might be able to get out.
Oh, no. And then I have to get out and you leave your key in your car.
That's the best.
You're an asshole. Oh, my God. Because I'm usually running behind and I have to move your car out of the way.
I know. And you hate going places.
Oh, my God. This will turn into
confessions.
We listen and we don't judge.
But I don't. That's very few and far between.
That's a really low blow.
Well,
because that comes from trauma that you are taking advantage of.
I do snicker when I do it.
Do you ever realize that I might be just crazy enough to just floor it into your car?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, good. As long as
100%.
I have hit a man before.
You would knock off my bumper and your side mirror and just keep on trucking.
On going. I'll go buy me a new car.
Yeah.
Don't play with me.
Yeah.
Don't tempt me with a good time. I'm Puerto Rican. I'm a little psycho.
I can literally remember there's only been like 2, maybe 3 occasions where I've actually done that on purpose. There's been probably a lot more that I've done it and it's not been on purpose. But most of the time, I'm very courteous and I park where you have plenty of room.
If I had a cricket sound, I'd put it right here. Cricket, cricket, cricket. Because sometimes you're oblivious.
I can also back the car out of the garage.
You know what? I don't want to hit my house. I don't want to take the garage out.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
I just want to follow this logic here.
Let's fight about it.
So you would be willing,
hit your car.
you'd be willing to floor it and to hit your car and my car.
Yeah.
But heaven forbid
I don't
you
hit
that frame of the garage door or the trim on the
I'm
garage door.
thinking of the brick, knocking the brick out and the whole house falling down.
Yeah, the one brick. It's going to do it.
It makes sense to me, okay? All right. Well, as always, thank you for listening. You can find me on TikTok at Ghost Gossip Pod. You can find me on Instagram at Ghost Gossip Podcast. And you can email me all your ghost gossip at ghostgossip247@gmail.com. Until next time, they'll see you later. Bye.
Bye, y'all.
We're 3 minutes in and it took me this long to get my 4 seconds. You look psycho with that LED light behind you.